Fox News Alert, brand new reaction to the shooting at the Family Research Council headquarters in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Just minutes ago, the suspected gunman made an appearance before a federal judge. The 28-year-old suspect is Floyd Lee Corkins. He walked into the FRC headquarters and reportedly said, quote, "I don't like your politics," or something to that effect, according to police, before he shot a security guard. Despite being injured, that same security guard then wrestled the gunman to the ground. That security guard's name is Leo Johnson, and he is being hailed across the country today as a hero as he recovers in the hospital. The FBI investigating this incident now as possible domestic terrorism. Meantime, the debate is now intensifying within conservative circles and actually beyond about whether FRC, Family Research Council, having been labeled a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center and identified as such by others more recently, may have contributed to this attack. Joining us now for a Fox News Channel exclusive is Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council. Tony, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Megan. Good to be with you this afternoon.
Our condolences on what happened at the FRC yesterday and on the injury to this guard, Leo. We understand that he's doing all right. Is that true?
Yeah, Leo's doing well, and I want to express my appreciation to those literally from around the world that have communicated with us that they were praying and they were concerned for Leo and for our entire team. I was with Leo last night about midnight when he came out of surgery, and Leo is not a uniformed armed security guard. I know it's been described as a security guard. He's actually our building's operation manager, and he kind of wears a double hat of a security guard. He's unarmed, and what happened, as you described, this man comes in and has a gun. Leo, despite being wounded, unarms the man and holds him until others can come and the police can come. So it truly was a heroic effort, as we know now that the intention of this man were clearly evil and to do massive damage here at FRC.
He entered the facility with a 9mm handgun. He had 2 additional mags of ammo on him. He also reportedly had 15 sandwiches from Chick-fil-A on him, and we'll get to the implications of that in a moment. But it does appear, Tony, that he meant to inflict serious damage within the walls of your facility. Is that what you believe as well?
Well, let me be very clear here that Floyd Corkins was responsible for the wounding of one of our colleagues and one of my friends yesterday here at the Family Research Council. But I believe he was given a license to do that by a group such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, who, as you pointed out earlier, labeled us a hate group because we defend the family and we stand for traditional Orthodox Christianity. And I'm going to tell you, Megan, there's no room for that in a society that such as ours, that is governed by a constitution and where we shape our laws through elections and through public policy debates. And I think it's time for people to realize what the Southern Poverty Law Center is doing with their reckless labeling of organizations that they disagree with.
I know that you were unhappy with that designation, and you asked for a debate with the Southern Poverty Law Center, is my understanding, about that label. What was their response?
Just what you're getting from me. Silence. They didn't say anything, because here's the truth, Megan. They don't want a debate. That's what this is all about. It's about marginalizing and ultimately silencing those they disagree with. It's not just us they did it to. They actually did this up in the state of Minnesota with a parents group that was defending a policy that the school board had adopted. SPLC comes in, files suit against the school board, the parents defend it, and they slap a label of hate group on them so that it marginalizes them. And of course the media repeats that every time they talk about these groups. That marginalizes individuals and groups, and it opens up for people who are not right, that are imbalanced, like Corkins, who comes in and literally had the intent of killing people here yesterday. And I'm not saying that the Southern Poverty Law Center is responsible for the shooting. Mr. Corkins is responsible for the shooting. They are responsible for creating an environment that led to yesterday's shooting.
You know, I want to say that we invited the Southern Poverty Law Center to come on as well. They declined as of this point, at least. But can you make the link? Because, you know, the Southern Poverty Law Center came out with that label back in 2010, and this is the first time anything like this has happened. And we have crazy and evil and awful individuals in this society who are prone to violence. So, is it fair, even though you may not like the charge by the Poverty Law Center, is it fair to engage in any linkage?
I think if this would have happened a week after that label came out, I think you're right. I think it would have been inappropriate to make that linkage. But this has been over 2 years now, and what we've seen is an escalation of that term used every time someone opposes whether it's same-sex marriage or some other policy. And of course, that's been in the news in the last 2 weeks with Chick-fil-A, the whole Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and Mr. Cathy's support for traditional marriage. And then there was a series of reports that have been circulating around the country that Chick-fil-A supports the Family Research Council, a hate group, a certified hate group, I should say, by the Southern Poverty Law Center. That appeared in stories all across America. Now, let me say, Chick-fil-A gave us about $1,000 a few years ago. They clearly have not been the sole support of the Family Research Council. We certainly invite their support as other groups, other individuals whose rights we stand for and defend. But that was clearly part of, let me say, based upon the evidence, would suggest that that is a part of the contribution of what led Mr. Perkins to do what he did yesterday. As you pointed out, he had 15 Chick-fil-A sandwiches in his backpack along with 50 rounds of ammunition. That's not generally what you walk out to have a picnic lunch with.
Mm-hmm. And I want to point out, too, that there has been a joint statement issued by 25 lesbian and gay, bisexual, and transgender leaders through GLAAD, saying that they were saddened to hear of this news of the shooting, that their hearts go out to the victim, his family, and his co-workers, and talked about how, regardless of what the motive was here, they reject and condemn such violence, wishing him a swift and complete recovery.
And I appreciate that. We have had a number of civil conversations with those on the other side of the issues that we work on, and I appreciate them speaking out clearly against such violence. There's no room for that in a society such as ours. If we want to have differences of opinion, that's fine. But let's debate the issues, let's let all the facts be out on the table, and let's shape our public policy accordingly. Let's not use intimidation, let's not use acts of terrorism to try and silence portions of our public.
Do you think this was an act of domestic terrorism, as the FBI is now investigating?
Well, Megan, actually, I spent about 5 years working with the State Department in anti-terrorism back in the 90s and training foreign police officers in anti-terrorism, so I'm somewhat familiar with what terrorism is. Terrorism is designed to intimidate and to drive people back and make them fearful. Well, that, I believe, would describe what they tried to do here yesterday at the Family Research Council, and by extension to traditional value supporters, Christians across the nation. But I want to tell you, it's not going to work. We're not going anywhere. We are more committed today than we were yesterday to defending and advancing faith, family, and freedom here in our nation's capital. We'll continue to be a voice for people across the nation who share these concerns and these values.
Tony Perkins, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Megan.
All the best to Leo Johnson, too. We're taking your thoughts.